I'm back with another talk about red flags in exercise and eating disorder recovery, fix your fitness, whatever you want to call it. So this week, what I really want to talk about is body comparison. Lots of times, folks I work with will say something to me like, I don't really care what other people's bodies look like. I care what I look like. I don't judge other people's bodies. And this is true for them. However, what's not true for them is how much they're focusing on how they perceive their body to look based on what they think other people's bodies look like. So here's a red flag. If you are anywhere that you might feel slightly uncomfortable, so let's say that's an engagement where you had to dress up, maybe a work event, maybe a wedding, I don't know, a first birthday party, and you start thinking about like, oh, that person looks really good in this dress. I wish I had that body type, or why is that person wearing that outfit? I would look better in that outfit. Usually though, it's a lot of like, I feel bad about my body based on how I'm perceiving other people's bodies. And when people say they don't care how other people look, again, that's true, except that you are focusing so much on what people do look like that the importance you're placing on bodies is still outsized. So if you find yourself really like comparing your body in real time to other people's body, even if you feel like you're in your mind giving them compliments, I want to say that this is a big red flag. What we want to do is take the focus off people's bodies, period. Another red flag for social events is comparing what you're eating to what other people are eating, and then feeling the need to justify it to yourself. So, oh, well, I took an exercise class this morning and maybe they didn't, so I'm eating more than them. Like as if you couldn't possibly just want to eat what you want to eat, regardless of what someone else is eating. Or really, this is a big red flag. You change what you're eating based on what you're perceiving other people to be eating. So lots of times I'll hear this story. I was at a party. I didn't want to eat more than what everyone else was eating. And so I didn't really eat enough. And then at night I found like I was binging on desserts when they served them, or on my way home, I felt really out of control and I stopped and I bought food, or I binged on the way home, or I binged when I got home. So what happens often when we compare our plate to other people's plates is that our reality is like a little skewed. So you think that you're eating more than other people. Maybe you are eating more than other people, but also we're not sure what they ate the rest of the day. It doesn't really matter what they ate the rest of the day, but you're taking your hunger needs and you're externalizing it based on what you see other people doing and eating. So that's a great way to disconnect with your body. And then of course you're hungry later because you didn't eat enough for yourself, or you're hungry later because you feel out of control around food because you couldn't nourish your own needs. You externalized the portion size rather than internally connecting with yourself, your hunger, your needs. So these are things that often happen in social situations that may not happen throughout your week when you're in your routine and you're eating lunch at home or at work and you're eating dinner with your family or friends. Like you're in a routine where you're comfortable and maybe you cook a lot so you know how much you're going to eat. That doesn't mean it's not a problem if it only happens once a week. It just means that like social settings are still tricky, and a great thing to do would be to practice being comfortable enough with people, or like taking what you want on a plate. I just gave this challenge to someone today who has a wedding this weekend. Taking what you want to eat and then going down and sitting down and eating it. You might want to sit a little bit further away from some of the people you're with, because if you find that it's too difficult to eat what you need without comparing, and then for dessert, maybe you want to go back with them. The goal ultimately would be to eat amongst your friends and family and eat what you need regardless of what anyone else is eating or when anyone else is eating. The other thing that happens a lot at parties is unless it's a sit down formal dinner, people are not eating at the same time. Even at weddings, when it is kind of often a sit down formal dinner, sometimes people take those moments of when dinner's being served to go to the photo booth, go to the bar because there's less of a line, or the bathroom, there's less of a line. And more than likely, they're going to come back and eat later. You're just not going to see it because hopefully you'll be out on the dance floor, or you'll be in the bathroom or at the photo booth or whatever you're doing. So a good thing to practice is trying to feel safe in your body and setting the conditions in a way that you do feel safe. So that might mean eating a little more at cocktail hour, eating a little more before you get to the event, the party, the graduation. It's lots of graduation time. And really trying to tell yourself, like, I'm meeting myself where I'm at. I don't care what Susan is eating. This is what my body needs right now. This is what I think tastes good. This is what feels nourishing to me. And really trying to tune in to your body's needs. The last red flag I will talk about is feeling the need to compensate with exercise. If you went to an event, or you didn't even go to an event, but you ate more than you normally do, and the next day it was not on your plan to go for a run or take an exercise class or do whatever you're gonna do, and you decide to do that because you feel you ate too much yesterday, red flag. If you're eating and you're eating enough for yourself, or even maybe more than you would like to be eating, but the food is just so damn good that you decide, oh, I know, I'll go for a run tomorrow, red flag. We want to stick with what our body needs, and being in routine with exercise is often a helpful way to kind of get away from the compensating piece of it. If you're not in a routine and you just like wake up and you decide you want to go for a run or to an exercise class because that feels good for your body, that's fine. The intention is not to compensate for what you ate. That's a really important distinction here. But if you are someone who, let's say, exercises 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and that's the 5th day, you're compensating. So the way to practice that is tolerate. And the more you can do it, the less likely you'll like connect the two things, food and exercise. Learn to tolerate the feeling, I want to be moving because I ate too much. It's really important to say, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Maybe I'll walk my dog because I have a dog that needs to be walked. Maybe I'll sleep more. Maybe I'll read a book. Maybe I'll watch TV. Maybe I'll distract myself by calling a friend. But I'm not going to give into the feeling of needing to erase the food that I ate. And the more you do that, the more you can divorce the need to punish yourself for eating too much, and the more you can tolerate that feeling of fullness or feeling of being overly full. That does pass. You just have to ride the wave. So those are my 3 red flags of the week that I want you to work on. And I do really want you to pay attention and then connect with yourself if you are doing a lot of body comparison, because it doesn't feel good to admit that you maybe do prioritize bodies and you do spend a lot of time judging other people's bodies. Again, even if it feels positive to you to judge someone, they look so good, we want you to not focus on what people's bodies look like all the time, what else is happening in the room. But this one is tricky because we need to first admit to ourselves that this is what we're doing. So the real work there is to pay attention to it and think about, like, what else can I be focusing on right now? Let me know how it goes.